For today's video, I'll be using 2 skeins of complementary fingering weight yarn, a 3.5mm crochet hook, and I'll also need a tapestry needle for weaving in ends, scissors, and stitch markers to help me keep track of increases and decreases. A little bit about this yarn. This is Toasted and Cafe au lait from the Frosted Stitch. If you're interested in ordering some of her colors, I'll put a link in the description below. She does do dyed to order yarn. So to begin this pattern, we're going to start with the magic circle, and to do that, I'm going to take the short end of my yarn, hold it in my hand, cross the long end over till I have an X. I'm going to take my crochet hook, slip it underneath the top part there, turn the hook around, and then grab right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and just kind of readjust and pinch this yarn, get some extra yarn in my hand, pinch with my left hand, and go ahead and chain 2. That chain 2 and any chain 2s in the pattern do not count as a stitch. I'm going to yarn over and place 3 double crochets into the circle. 2 and 3, just like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. And just like the chain 2s, the chain 1s do not count as a stitch. At this point, I can go ahead and take this short end and pull this tight to bring my magic circle closed and create the first point that we're going to have on the shawl. With this shawl, we're going to be alternating rows of double crochet and single crochet, and you'll see that when we get to the tonal part of the shawl. But for the variegated or speckled part of the shawl, we're going to go ahead and just do the repeats, and you're going to have one side that's going to be your increases and one side that's going to be your decreases. For the first part of the shawl, you will always do 3 increases and 2 decreases, and the increases always happen on the same side and the decreases always happen on the same side. And in this first stitch, we're going to go ahead and place 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. And then in the last 2 stitches, you're going to always do your decreases. So we're going to do a single crochet, 2 together. So I'm going to go into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through. I'll have 2 loops on my hook, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through till I have 3 loops on my hook, and then I'm going to just yarn over and pull through all 3. Now I'm going to a double crochet row, so I will chain 2 and turn my work. And I have 4 stitches now, and in the first 2 stitches I'm going to do a double crochet 2 together. So I'm going to yarn over, go into that first stitch, yarn over, pull through. I have 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and then we're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through 2. I'll have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. Then I have 2 stitches left. I'm going to go ahead, yarn over, go into the next stitch with just a regular double crochet, and then yarn over and go into the last stitch, which is going to be our first single crochet, and this one can sometimes be a little bit tough. And I'm going to do 3 double crochets because this is our increasing side, so we'll always do 3 in there, at least for this first part of the shawl. And because we're making a boomerang, what happens is we'll always have decreases on one end and increases on the other. So now we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And now we're going to go back to the single crochet side. So I'm going to go ahead and just do 3 single crochets because this is my increasing side. And then I'm going to single crochet across until I get to the last 2 stitches. Oops, I think these are my last two, and then I'm going to single crochet 2 together. 1 and 2, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through all of them. Chain 2, turn my work, and now we're going to be working on our double crochet side. So I'm going to yarn over, double crochet 2 together, pull through 2, yarn over into the next one, make sure I'm getting both those loops, pull through 2, and then I'm going to yarn over, pull through all 3. So then I have to just double crochet across till I get to the last stitch. And in my last stitch, which is not quite yet, I'm going to put 3 double crochets. And it's really important that you keep count of your stitches, especially when you start doing the single crochet rows, because it can be a little bit confusing. So I'm going to go into my last single crochet. Sometimes it just needs a little bit of help. And do 3 double crochets. So that was 1, 2, and 3, just like that. Chain 1, turn our work, and now we're going to go to the single crochet row. So we're going to continue on with our single crochet row, and I'm just going to continue doing single crochet rows and double crochet rows until I finish my 10th row, which will be a single crochet row. At that point, I'll show you how we're going to add a little lace effect into the shawl. So I just finished this row of single crochet, that's my 10th row, and I wanted to show you guys how to use the stitch marker. One of the best ways to do that is to put it in right on your first stitch, because this single crochet is very easy to miss, the first one of the increase, and you want to make sure that you catch it every time. So if you place a little stitch marker in there, it'll remind you that it's there, and that's where you should be doing your increases. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my work. I've chained 2, but remember my chain 2 doesn't count as anything. I'm going to go ahead and do my double crochet 2 together. Oops. Yarn over, do the second one, pull through 2, pull through all 3, and then I'm going to chain 1. We're going to skip 1, and then we're going to go into the next stitch, just like that. And then chain 1, skip 1 into the next stitch, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet into that next stitch, and then we're going to chain, whoops, we're going to, so here again, remember, I'm really glad I put that stitch marker there. I'm going to chain 1, skip 1, and go into that stitch right there, and then I'm going to chain 1, skip this one right there, and where my stitch marker is, I'll go ahead and take that out. I'm going to do a double crochet, and this is our increase, so 3 stitches need to go in here. So chain 1, that counts as the second one, and then one more time, double crochet, and that's it. That's how you're going to get that nice lacy look. So I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and we're going to start working that single crochet row. So I'm going to just into the first one, go ahead and do my 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3. Take a second, put your stitch marker into that first single crochet right there, and then I'm going to get just a little bit more yarn, and now I'm going to show you how to place your single crochets. So the first double crochet has our increase. We're going to go into the chain space to place that next double crochet, then on the top of the next double crochet, then into the chain space, and then into the next double crochet, and I'm going to keep going. So just like this. We're going to get to our last couple stitches, and so our last stitch is going to be a chain space and then the top of the last double crochet two together. So how we're going to do that is we're going to go into the chain space, pull up a loop, and then go right into the last stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. Then we'll chain 2, turn our work, and now we're going to do a regular double crochet row. So the way that this pattern is going to work is you're going to do a single crochet row, then a regular double crochet row, then a single crochet row, and then you're going to do the lace, the every other row. So every 4th row now will be a double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet row. So I'm going to keep working on this, and once I get to a certain point, I'll come back and show you what the next step is. So I'm placing the last stitch of this row, and since it's the increasing side, I'm going to go ahead and put a double crochet, chain 1, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my last double crochet into the same stitch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you now how to do color changes, because we're getting to that point in the shawl where I'm going to do some color changes. So what we're going to do is we're going to back up. I like to do the color change on the last pull through, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. So I'm going to yarn over, do my double crochet, pull through 2, and then I'm going to stop. And what I'm going to do right here is now grab the second color. This is the Cafe au Lait, and I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail for weaving in, and I'm going to pull through just like that. So you can see, once I get everything nice and tight, that it's an easy color change. I'm going to chain 1, we'll turn our work, and now we'll start working with the Cafe au Lait with color 2. Just pull that tight. So I'm going to do my single crochet, because this is a single crochet row, do my first stitch, and this is an increase, so I'm going to go ahead and just take my stitch marker that's right here, and I'm going to put it right there. So what I'd also like to do is show you how to weave in your end at the same time. So I've got the short end of the second color right there, and this is where I do my 3 stitches in there. I'm going to go ahead and grab that yarn, and I'm going to go into the same place and do my second single crochet, and then into the same stitch for my 3rd single crochet, and you can see how I'm catching that yarn in there. So I'm going to keep doing that as I move on. So this is my chain space single crochet, and this is my next stitch, and I'm going to keep going till I have that yarn just tucked in right there where I want it. And when you're doing color changes, doing it this way can make it a lot easier than having to weave in all your ends later on. I will tell you that sometimes it's a good idea to leave a little bit extra yarn and weave it in another direction if you want extra tight. In this case, because I'm going to be mainly hand washing this piece, I'm not too worried about it going in a machine and those ends coming in, and I have a nice long tail also. So I'm going to keep going with this. So what I want you to do when it comes to the color changes is follow the pattern. So the pattern will tell you when to change your colors from color 1 to color 2 as we do the center transition section. When it comes to the color transitions, you have the option to follow the pattern as I've directed, but you also have the option to do it as you so please. This is kind of a great area to practice on how you want to do the color transitions. If you even want to do color transitions, you could do the whole shawl in one color. You could also, at this point, just completely switch over, or you could divide the shawl in half and make it half. But I think the transition area is going to be really pretty, and it's going to be pretty subtle because you can see how this Cafe au Lait is pretty subtle. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that, and then I'll meet you back. For this next section of color transitions, I'm going to show you how we're going to just drop the yarn and pick up the one from before. So we're alternating every 2 rows, which means that when I come back to this row, I'm going to be able to pick up this piece of yarn, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So again, this is my increasing end. I've done my chain 1 and I'm placing my second double crochet. When I get to the last yarn over, I'm going to switch colors and just pull through like that. And it's a short enough row where even though you can see that yarn there, it's not going to be noticeable by the time this is done. And I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead, chain 1. It's time for me to turn my work. And I'm going to go ahead and yarn over, pull through 1 for a single crochet. I'm going to place my stitch marker because this first single crochet likes to get lost. Place 2 more single crochets, 1 and 2, and then I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to keep this yarn long for the next time I come around. Now if you don't like the way this looks, there will be an optional border, so you'll be able to cover that up with the border, or you can go ahead and just leave this end long and weave in your ends. But this is a quick little way that will get covered with that optional border, so I'm going to be okay with leaving it just like that. So 3 single crochets, and now I'm going to continue, and this part of this pattern is going to be a 2-row repeat also. So when I come back, I'll be able to just drop and pick up this little bit of yarn. So I'm going to keep working on this pattern, and when I get to the next important section, I'll meet you back and I'll show you what the next steps are. So I've just finished up the double crochet of color 1, and normally at this point I would change colors to color 2 and we do a single crochet row, but we're going to actually start doing the decreasing portion of this shawl. So I'm still going to switch to color 2. I'm going to go ahead and pull through just like that. I'm going to chain 2, and normally at this point we are doing our increases. Instead we're going to start doing decreases, and I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to turn my work, and on this side, normally at this end we would do 3 double crochet in 1 stitch. Instead what we're going to do is we're going to do a double crochet 3 together. So I'm going to yarn over, just make sure that's nice and snug, pull through 2, yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull through 2, I should have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, go into the 3rd stitch, pull through 2, and then I'm going to pull through all 4. And what we're going to start doing is we're going to make a little V right here, and on the other end we're going to do the increases. We're going to do 2 increases, and that'll match how that part of the shawl is. So now I'm just going to continue doing a full double crochet row, and we also, for this half of the shawl, are going to change up the pattern. There will be no more of this mesh work that we're seeing there. Instead, we're going to be focused on making a little textural element to go with the second color, since the second color is our solid color. So I'm going to go ahead and keep working on this. When I get to the other end, I'm going to show you how I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do the increases on the other end, and then I'll show you about that textural element. So I'm coming to the end here, and this last 2 stitches, normally we would do a double crochet 2 together. Instead what we're going to do is in that last stitch, we're going to go ahead and place 2 double crochets, just like that. And now this is now going to become our increasing end. I'm going to chain 1, I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to place 2 single crochets now into this first stitch. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did last time. I want to make sure that I use a stitch marker to document where that first stitch is, so I don't lose it, because it is really easy to lose that stitch. And then we're going to add in a little textural element. So to do that textural element, we're going to do a treble crochet into the next stitch, just like that. And then immediately we're going to go into the single crochet, just like that, and then treble, and then single. And what we're doing is we're creating a little, almost like a little mini bobble there. So next stitch, treble, and then single. So I'm going to keep working on this till I get to the end. You can kind of see how we're getting that little texture on this side. When I get to the end, I'm going to show you how to do the single crochet 3 together. So I have 3 stitches now. I'm at the end of my single crochet row, and I'm going to go ahead and do a single crochet 3 together. And the way I do that is I go into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, go into the second stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and go into the last stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. And I have 4 loops on my hook. Now we're going to do a color change. So at the last color change, I actually had to cut my yarn because it can't carry over the point. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my color 1, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 4, just like that. Then we'll go ahead and we'll chain 2, because we're going to be doing double crochets on the next row, and then I'll go ahead and turn my work, and now we'll do our double crochet 3 together. So to show you how to do that, I'm going to yarn over, go into that first stitch, pull through 2, yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull through 2, yarn over, go into the last stitch, and you want to make sure that you are getting both loops. Pull through 2, you'll have 4 loops on your hook. There's my chain 2, so that doesn't count as a stitch, but then I have my 3 stitches there, yarn over, pull through all 4 of them. And then we'll just go ahead and keep double crocheting all the way up. And then remember, when we get to the end of this row, we're going to be doing our increases. So we'll do 2 double crochets. And you can kind of see there's a lot of ends that are going to be weaved in, but you can kind of see that we're getting a point here. And we're going to follow this shawl in terms of the color repeats to mirror this side. So I'm going to do 2 and 2 to match up to what I did on this side, and then I'll do the single crochet row twice, the same color change that we did initially on this side, and then I'll go straight to color 2 only. And I'm going to continue doing this textural element throughout all of this side. So I'm going to continue working on the shawl, and then I'll come back around and show you how we're going to do the border on the shawl. So I've reached my last 3 stitches, and I'm going to do my last double crochet 3 together in these last stitches, just like this. And I'm going to have 4 stitches on my hook. I'm going to pull through all, and then I'm going to chain 1. And now we're going to work a border. And when we work the border, we're going to be working a single crochet border. And I'm going to be working it on the right side. And the right side is the one that has our little textured elements right there. So I'm going to not turn my work with this chain 1, and I'm just going to go directly and start working on the long curved edge as opposed to the shorter curved edge. So you can kind of see, here's my long curved edge, here's my short curved edge. So I'm going to turn my work and immediately place a single crochet. And I'm going to try to do that very loosely, especially along the long curved side, because I want to make sure that I am not pulling too tightly, otherwise my shawl will have kind of a buckle to it. So nice loose stitches. And the general rule of thumb is that you place 2 stitches along the side of a double crochet and 1 stitch along the side of a single crochet. So we're going to be following that. If we, especially on this long curved side, if you need to add an extra stitch into your double crochets, go ahead and do that just to keep the border nice and loose. We don't want to do that, or try to avoid doing that on the shorter edge. So I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to go all the way around. And when I get to the points of the shawl, I'll show you how we want to do that. So keep going all the way around and I'll meet you back when we get to that area. So I'm at the center two most stitches where there's a little V, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do a single crochet two together to kind of accentuate that V. So I have my two stitches right here. I'm going to go into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through, keep that loop on the hook, go right into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through all three and make sure that's nice and snug. And then I'll just go right in to my next stitch, just like that. And then again, repeat in your normal single crochet border. So I'm going to keep doing this until I get to the next point, and then I'll meet you back. So I've reached the tip of my shawl, and this is where I have the two double crochet rows that join together. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place in the area of the joining 3 single crochets into that point. And let's see if we can make sure that we have that. So it's going to be 1, and then we'll go right 2 and 3. And what that's going to do is it's going to make sure that that point stays visible in the rest of the shawl. And then I'll go back to finishing up my normal rows. And as I'm going in, not only am I hiding our yarn overs, but I'm taking the time to place these ends along the edge too. And as I'm going, I'm just catching them in there and weaving them in also. So you'll see that. If it gets a little bit tricky with the carryovers from the yarn, just remember that general rule of thumb that you're going to be putting 1 stitch into a single crochet row and 2 stitches into a double crochet row. So let's see. So you can see we've got those extra stitches just help keep that point right there. And you can see how well this border has hidden all of these yarn overs that we have here. So I'm going to keep going until I get to the end, and then I'm going to block my shawl, and I need to block it to make sure that everything, all the lace opens up and that there's a curl that happens along the ends of the boomerang. So we want to make sure that those are nice and straight, and I'll do that before I place my tassels. So I'm going to keep going. I will finish this row, start blocking, and then I'll meet you back to show. So here's the final product. You can see how we have the area of the color transition. I added tassels. I added the tassels in the toasted color just to give a little bit of contrast since I went with the cafe au lait for the border. You can see the textural part, how this part curved in at the end. I want to show you how well, I haven't weaved in my ends yet, but I wanted to show you how well, for the most part, all of those carryovers are taken care of, and any buckling or curving of the shawl was taken care of by blocking. So blocking is essential for the final product. If you don't block, it's definitely not going to turn out. It's going to be kind of scrunched together and you won't have a nice smooth edge. Here's the V, as you can see, and here was the point. Look at that pretty little tassel. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos, please do subscribe. It helps to grow the channel. Thank you and happy crocheting!